Right, this is the curriculum and instruction meeting for October 28th. Mrs. Thompson is here. Mrs. Feckelman. Oh. We only have two people.
Bucky's on this, is that correct?
No, Mrs. Albright, Mr. Gretsch.
Okay.
You can still have informational.
Okay, so this will be an informational meeting. So we welcome Mr. Cross, our new director of curriculum and instruction, and we're going to start with the transition plan. And Mr. Gretsch has arrived.
There he is.
Well, why don't you use the other mic? There you go.
All sorts of difficulties.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'm very happy to be here this evening with my first CNI committee meeting as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction here in Boone. So thank you again to the board and the community and administration and all those out there for giving me this opportunity. There's a lot of great things happening here in the district, and even though I'm only in my fifth week, I recognize that this is an incredible community, and we have some amazing work going on, and I really look forward to rolling up my sleeves and working side by side with our stakeholders to ensure that we continue to have the highest quality curriculum and instruction possible for our students. So thank you again. As you had said, the first area that I would like to speak about tonight is my transition plan. So, there's a long tradition of excellence here in the Van Boone Area School District, and to build upon those achievements and foster partnerships as well as provide the leadership necessary for me to be able to ensure that high quality curriculum and instruction, I need to make sure that I make a smooth transition into this position as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. So in order to do so, this transition plan outlines a pathway for developing a deep understanding of the district and the larger community as a whole. It spans 90 days and establishes a structure for gathering, analyzing feedback, information, and data from a variety of sources and stakeholders. The plan focuses on three areas specific to the roles and responsibilities of the position: listening, learning, and leading. Specific to listening, building relationships, fostering trust, and gaining insight into the unique needs and challenges and perspectives of the school community is vital, and really has been much of the work that I've been doing in the last 4 weeks since my arrival here in the district. Learning about the district policies, systems, and practices is also very critical for me to understand the strengths and challenges that we face as a community. And I am currently in the process of working to review the congruence between our written, taught, and assessed curriculum, as well as those other areas outlined in my transition plan, which you should all have copies of. Finally, the work of teaching and learning can't stop while I work through a transition plan. And so leading really focuses on two areas. The first is to maintain the momentum of our current projects that we have in place. And the second is to synthesize the information gathered through the listening and leading in order to prioritize areas where we need work on that are aligned to our strategic plan. So I would like to just highlight for you some of the progress that I made over the last 4 weeks, and as well as what are some of the next steps moving forward in the next coming weeks. So an introductory email was distributed to the community in early October, introducing me and thanking my predecessor for all of her great work in the district, as well as then over the last 4 weeks I've been visiting buildings and classrooms. That really has been an important piece of my time. It's really trying to understand the experience that our students are going through in the classrooms each and every day. I've met with principals and other key stakeholders, as well as provided meet and greet opportunities for our staff. I have to say that the Safe Trick or Treat was really a special event for our community. And I know that isn't the focus of our conversation here, but I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to the DEA and the high school students and all those involved in that really great event for our community. I believe there was over 700 trick-or-treaters that evening, as well as over 400 cans of food donated. So that is really an amazing accomplishment, and I know it was a lot of hard work, and so I just want to pause there and say thank you to all of them and their work and efforts that they do for the community. In the coming weeks, I plan to continue meeting with key stakeholder groups, and I will continue to be in classrooms as I work now to review our written curriculum as well as our assessments. Budgeting and, of course, reviewing instructional resources will be a focus. And then, as an FYI to the board, I will be posting my bio as well as the transition plan, which you all have copies of today, and a digital suggestion box for the community as part of that transition plan where they can provide feedback specific to curriculum and instruction that will go into providing the feedback for me as I work through the priorities. And so do you want me to pause here, or do you want me to move on to the next agenda item?
Does anybody have any questions on his transition plan? All right, go ahead. The highest priority.
Thank you. Already we do have some important priorities. There are a lot of work that certainly needs to be done, but I do want to highlight two that are really important as aligned to our strategic planning goals. And so the first area is to implement a systematic process for ensuring the continuous review of research-based standards-aligned curriculum and instruction. In doing so, we can ensure that ongoing review and advancement is in place for all content areas, K-12, in a fiscally responsible manner. And so by utilizing a curriculum cycle, we do first is to promote congruence between our written, taught, and assessed curriculum. Two, we ensure that the content within the educational programs have a coherent progression of learning from students from year to year, as well as allows for a 5 to 6 year budgetary planning, which is really important. Curriculum costs a lot of money, the resources for curriculum, and we need to make sure that we plan it in a way that allows for all content areas to benefit and that we do it in a fiscally responsible manner. And that it will also help us ensure that we are providing the highest quality curriculum instruction necessary for our students to thrive well into the future. And so this is also about sustainability through systems-based processes. Currently, we're engaging our administrators and our teacher leaders in supporting the development of this curriculum cycle. Additionally, we are gaining feedback through the transition plan, as I mentioned, that we will have a digital box for the community to contribute information. We will also be surveying our staff. Not every teacher can be directly involved in development, but we do want them to have an opportunity to provide feedback, so we'll be surveying our professional staff to inform the development of the curriculum cycle. Our goal is to have a draft of the curriculum cycle for review for the CNI committee in the November curriculum instruction committee meeting. And then we hope to finalize it. It is our goal to finalize it by the end of December so that we can begin communicating it out to our community in the second semester, and then have it in place so that the first content area can move into the cycle at the start of the 25-26 school year. But I also want to note that there will be an implementation plan developed and presented to the board so that it outlines how content or when content areas move through the cycle. If you consider that if a content area starts in the 25-26 school year in a cycle, even if we go at an accelerated pace, by the time development and implementation occurs, you'd be looking at the 27-28 school year for content to move to that point of implementation. Well, we have work to do in the meantime, and so part of that implementation plan will also include the work that we will be doing during the transition into the curriculum cycle. The second important priority is to optimize our current academic MTSS. In fact, today we visited Kutztown University with a group of teacher leaders, principals, other administrators, and it was a great day of learning and strategizing and thinking about our current systems that we have placed, because it's really important that as we move forward with current research and what we know about what it tells us how we can provide intensive supports to students and intensive instruction, that we ensure that we're optimizing our MTSS as we do that and move forward to keep current with current research. We find that our teachers here and our principals are doing an amazing job, and so what our goal is to really do is to better support them and our students by making sure that we have established clear and consistent processes for our MTSS in order to promote consistency in the use of evidence-based instruction and supports. We really want to maximize our growth for all students academically through this process. This work will include a review of our current assessment systems, as well as, in addition, we also recognized, and as mandated by the state, that we need to continue making progress towards shifting to structured literacy. And so it will also be important as part of that work to continue that forward momentum that we have in shifting to structured literacy at our earliest stages, to ensure that we do all that we can to allow for students who are able to become proficient readers by the end of third grade. As we move forward with work, I'm confident that there are steps that we can take this year to begin optimizing our MTSS, as well as to continue that momentum towards structured literacy. But our overall goal is to have in place for the 25-26 school year a K-12 framework for MTSS that we can put in place in day one. I'm very excited to get to work on these projects, which are directly aligned to our strategic plan goals. So they do remain to be, while there's other work to accomplish, our two highest priorities for the 24-25 school year.
I have a question actually on this slide. So it says 15% of students in Tier 2, 5% in Tier 3. What if we find that there's more than 15% of students that need small groups? Do we have enough staff to help, like, say, 25% of students in need?
Well, I will save the staffing question for Mr. Volker. I will say that what you're looking at up there currently is what, that's just a standard model for an MTSS framework, given what research says that the course should be effective in meeting the needs of the majority of your students, and that there, in general, should be about 15% of students who are in need of Tier 2 supports and more intensive, and then about 5% for Tier 3. Now that's when everything is in place and working for many years, and so there's going to be a transitional period as we work through optimizing our MTSS framework.
And I'm happy to interject on that one. This is one of those like theory versus practice. What you're looking at there is the theory. When you're taking a look at actual practice, we do have more than 15% in that area. And you can take a look at your Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention, and it really is an indication of the health of your Tier 1 programming. And Tier 1 is what happens within all of our regular classes. Every single teacher is a Tier 1 interventionist. And this is why the work that he was talking about, really related back to curriculum alignment, is most critical for us to do. Not only do we need to ensure that we're teaching the quote-unquote right things, but we also have the right resources aligned to that content that we're trying to teach. So if we're teaching ELA concepts, we have a wonderful tool, SAVAS, all right? And within that program, this is what we're using. for our whole group, but then when it comes time to break out into your small group instructional blocks, this is what's built within the program that we're going to utilize to tailor to the individual needs of those students within that Tier 1 support. Again, the more aligned we can get our systems, the less Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions we're going to need. But I can tell you, right now, we're actually appropriately staffed in the intervention world for managing the caseload that we have. In time, if we're, which I'm going to tell you as the superintendent, we will be successful, but in time, I would like to see if we'd be able to drop, because we have a lot of interventionists in the district that are very, very much needed. We don't need more, but in time, ideally, we'd love to see if we can bring that down a little bit. But that's where we are right now. We're able to manage the load that we have. But again, our goal is to get much more to that model.
So you,
What is our current percentage right now for Tier 2, Tier 3?
For a number of students that are in those receiver, I have to honestly pull those numbers to find out what number or percentage.
so you guys are tracking that and tracking
yeah.
when it goes up or down, or
Absolutely, we are.
But I can assure you that's part of the questions as we're peeling back the onion and working in ways to optimize our MTSS. Those are the type of questions we're asking.
Val, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question for, is it pronounced Savas?
I never know. I power through it. Savas, Savas, Pearson. It was the artist formerly known as Pearson. Yes. I just muddle through it and you'll be fine.
Because I don't want to improperly say it. So I noticed that within that platform, there is at least in math, where you can go in and you can ask for help, break down. Are you guys gathering the data and the information as students work through the platform? They see that it's like evidence-based. Is that what it is you're using to tally the data of where the students are at based on the SAVAS system? Does that make sense? Because the system breaks it down, like, so if my child needs help and they say, help me answer and help me explain. I'm not saying that it's 100%. I know my children still struggle with the actual explanation, but if it's data that's being tracked, if the students are highly dependent on that as opposed to being able to answer the question based on the lesson, is that what you're talking about as an evidence-based instruction? Does that make sense? Am I asking that?
Yeah, so evidence-based instruction, what I'm referencing there is instructional strategies that are proven through research have high impact to maximize growth, academic growth for students. The second piece of that, though, which is really important, is being able to identify students who are in need of more intensive supports, as well as to target those supports. And that is where, as part of this process, we are going to be looking at our assessment system holistically and reviewing it to determine, is it providing us the information we need to be able to make those decisions.
Yeah, I was wondering, sorry. Because I was wondering, because as my children may struggle, will go to the child struggles through that platform, is that being tracked and recorded for all the students so we can see, hey, this particular portion of the lesson really needs the support, or hey, this child in general needs that additional support, so it's easy to track exactly the type of resources we need to allocate to that. So that was just basically my question. Does it make sense?
Yeah, so I can tell you, specific to the question that you're asking, that's tracked individually with the teachers. The data that Mr. Cross is talking about, that's more where we're looking at universal screener and benchmark assessments.
Okay.
So like the MAP assessments that we've done in the past, whether that's CDTs in different subjects at the high school level. Okay.
Do they take the MAP test all the way up through middle school?
Honestly, I'd have to double check. I know Mrs. Owens had it all written down because we were just going through a lot of this work last year. I don't remember where everything lands, so I'd have to kind of default back over.
The map right now is in math, and I believe it starts in 3rd grade, but again, I'd have to reference what I have written down. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me today. And I believe it starts in 3rd for math, and it goes up through 8th grade, and then algebra CETs currently.
there's a reading one too, right?
There is a reading map. To my knowledge, currently we're not using that.
Correct. We transitioned over to the other Acadians. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any other questions on the slide?
And finally are just some general updates. So this is the time of the year where we start thinking about the high school course selection guide. And I just want to make you aware that there are no major changes. And what I mean by that is we are not looking to add any new courses. What some of the changes you might see, I don't want to steal the thunder from our high school principal, who will be presenting at the November Committee of the Whole meeting. Thank you. And but just in general, there's minor changes with aesthetics, and as well as making sure that we are current with our even courses we're offering. No major changes, so we'll be presenting that in more detail come the COW meeting in a few weeks.
Okay, is that
And
it?
so, thank you once again. Any questions?
Questions from the committee?
I do. So are we going to continue utilizing block scheduling based on, I guess, the resources we have for staffing needs, like for the upcoming school years? Is that?
I'm happy to take that one. So we have identified within the strategic plan that we're going to begin that evaluation February of this year. I believe we're going to start investigating that. That's one where you need to make sure that you're doing that well in advance, because that will impact staffing, schedules. I mean, that has a massive impact. It's funny. I would say block scheduling is not the scheduling model that I'm most familiar with. It's not the schedule that I've had the most experience with. I've had traditional models in most of the districts I've worked for. But I can tell you, after obviously we're not waiting till then for us to start our investigations, there's a lot of research to support that double block period, because you're minimizing those transition times. And even the session that we were at today was talking about the value of cutting down on those transition periods between classes and the amount of instructional time that you end up saving. So through the MTSS model that they were talking about, their recommendation was to actually move into a model where there are less transitions. So again, it's one of those where it's 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Just real quick, when you say transition, you're talking like walking class to class?
Yeah, at the secondary level, obviously at the elementary level, you're not necessarily changing classes as much. So essentially, yeah, you're correct.
The reason why I asked that, because my daughter is currently in BCTC, and she is hybrid, meaning brick and mortar, and does the academy online. And her day is a lot longer only because she can't physically be present in class when those classes are being taught, because she goes to tech school and then she comes home after school and then she adds in about 2 or 3 hours to her day because of block scheduling. I remember hearing community members saying that in the past, like how that was struggling. I just don't understand, unfortunately. I couldn't wrap my head around it, but now that I physically see it, I guess my question is can we possibly get like the numbers behind, and maybe Mr. Cross can do this too, maybe get the numbers behind how that is academically supporting us in a positive way, because my daughter really does struggle. She said by the time 3 o'clock is, she's done, but she has to do her online, she has to meet a certain percentage, and she said really I'm not a big fan of block scheduling because I really need to be a math in person, but I can't physically do that without sacrificing, doing concert choir. Because of block scheduling. So I'm just not sure. I'm curious to see the numbers of how it's positively impacting as opposed to negatively impacting, because this will then obviously impact her and maybe other students' career for the remaining time that we have block scheduling. That's all.
Absolutely, and it is identified on the strategic plan as one of the things we will be investigating.
Any other questions or comments?
Prior to your hiring, several parents were here discussing how, I guess, what they learned at Daniel Boone has actually hurt them in college, right? Kids don't understand like reading reading script off a board, writing with pen and paper is a struggle. And again, these are probably kids that in that core development time it was COVID, so I might have heard that. And then just in general, right, we have like low reading scores, I believe, and math is at like 50 or 60% on
I wouldn't define it as low, but I mean, certainly we're looking to grow those numbers across the board.
yeah. So are you, again, and there's a lot of theories of thought of this of, the old school way and the new school way. A good mix is great. So like, are you looking at, how much of the younger developing course is, teaching them how to read, write, do math, not on technology, and then, there is some sort of transition, because it seems like from parents that were here and talked, leaning full boat into technology is actually screwing their kids up in college, because they can't adapt as fast as other kids and things like that.
So as part of structured literacy, an important piece of that is what's called orthography, and that is the transition of sound to paper, and that is through systematic phonics instruction. And so that is something, certainly, as we are looking to continue the momentum forward, shifting to structured literacy, we are looking at is how are we providing students with explicit and systematic instruction on orthography.
All right, any other questions? All right, this ends the committee and curriculum and instruction meeting.